Beast Machines episode reviews continue now with The Key, or Transorganic War Part 1. We've got a few things to set up in this one. It's going to be a very strange episode because, remember, this is a series where the staff and then ultimately the higher-ups decided, don't go back to Beast Wars because we don't want this show to be too referential. We're about to go back about, 15 years? As far as, from when this episode was come out. Alright, so the point is that in the last episode, the cliffhanger was that Rhinox has discovered the Oracle. And now he's going to use it to gain access to something from G1, the key to Vector Sigma. And he's going to employ that as his key weapon in this war. So, let's actually examine this. Let's actually break it down. So they're not allowed to reference Beast Wars in this series any more than they absolutely have to. They didn't watch Beast Wars, whether it was the higher-ups or the main writers or whatever who decided, no, we're not going to watch Beast Wars. We don't want it to be too referential. They do, however, decide to reference G1 with bringing back Vector Sigma and its key, which is an even older pull that, of course, fans are going to appreciate, but also, if you're starting fresh, if the idea is to completely, start this show fresh, why did you go to G1 to pull your references? Logic. Some people do not have it. Now, that being said, just to get that part out of the way, I do think this is actually really smart. To use an established piece of Transformers lore in this particular series actually works because the key to Vector Sigma would transform organic material into metal. It works a little bit differently here than it did in G1, but ultimately the effect and the intention is the same. So to pull a weapon from G1 that is perfect for the theme of Beast Machines is actually pretty good. I will give them all the credit in the world for coming up with that. On the other hand, I really don't like the idea that you can just pull up records of an ancient Cybertronian archive and just 3D print one on the spot and it still works. That seems a little weird. Also, at that point, why is it a key? Why even bother making it a key? Make it a grenade. Make it a gun. Make it a planetary-wide bomb. At that point, you're not limited to it just being a key. If all you need to do is 3D print it out of thin air and it just has all the functions of the original artifact, why bother making it the key? Why bother limiting yourself? Why not make it a much more powerful weapon? Why make it a weapon at all? Make it something you're built in with, so anything that touches you starts turning into metal. Logic. That's all I'm asking for here. Just consistent logic. See, they do things I think are smart, but then there's dumb aspects about them, and that hurts it overall. So, yeah. Rhinox has the key to Vector Sigma. That'll come into play later, naturally, but for now, we'll go over to the Maximals. They're trying to drill for water, or whatever this techno-organic goop is that is below Cybertron. I don't know. It looks like melted green ice cream. It looks like you left mint chip out in the sun for a few hours. That's what it looks like. It's weird. Oh, also, this stuff grows plants magically fast, and it also dries up in incredible record time. It's weird how the rules of this fluid actually work, but apparently there's a ton of it down there, and they've taken to full they've taken to full agriculture on this one. They're literally drilling for it at this point. It's weird. It's weird that we're suddenly this is the Cybertron we have now. This is the new established Cybertron. This green magic goop is just somewhere under the surface. I don't know. I personally think it's toxic waste left over from the Quintessons, but, that's my headcanon at that point. There is something of a side plot going on here, and that comes with Optimus and Cheetor. They're still at odds because, I mean, uh, when Primal was incapacitated after reformatting Nightscream, Cheetor took control of the Maximals and apparently got a taste for leadership because when Primal came back, he didn't necessarily agree with everything Primal was doing and actually deposed him. He said he was taking over. How well of a takeover that is still somewhat iffy at this stage in the series. Whether or not Cheetor really is commander of the Maximals right now is a little bit up to debate, because a lot of this is still focused on Primal. Naturally it is. He's the one with the Oracle connection. This is his mission ultimately. So Cheetor is argumentative in this episode, and it's going to get more heated, which is interesting to see Cheetor from the young kid who was always trying to impress Optimus to now the point where he's directly opposing his choices because he disagrees with his command. So that's okay. So we have this like evolution of Cheetor's design. One thing we also saw in this episode, which I wish we had seen sooner, is apparently Megatron has full control over Cybertropolis, to the point where it's very like Inceptioning, where he can just move buildings around however he wants. And if this was demonstrated earlier, this would have been far more terrifying. But now the Maximals have ways of evading it, so it does create a really good show of how much control Megatron has in this show over the planet of Cybertron, but also does a really good job of throwing something new at us. Remember, my exhaustion with this series is coming from the formula of we get we're going through the catacombs, we get ambushed by Viacons, we transform and escape, and that's the entire encounter. Things like that. So this is new. This is a different twist, and I like that they threw a different twist in there, especially when it shows another side of what Megatron can do. There is a couple weird things in this episode. I've been noticing that Rat Trap has a weird habit of disconnecting from things after he accesses them. So we did it previously with Rhinox. After like tapping Tankor and finding out Rhinox was in there, he immediately just pulls his tail and calls it a day instead of diving deeper or pushing further to get Rhinox out of Tankor's personality. And now here it was with a mole pod, because the mole, the mole would make it a lot easier to dig for all the goop, which I believe, that's how the problem of the day was solved. But he just kind of disconnects from it. Megatron's programming kicks back in, and it goes back on the attack. And like, why did you unplug? Why did you unplug? Beyond that, let's get back to Tankor's side of things. He ambushes the Maximals to test out the key, and ends up like cyberforming the Orchard and Nightscream in the process. And it doesn't just turn things straight into metal this time. Nightscream turns this really weird bluish thing and then starts freaking out like he's like absolutely rabid or insane. So Nightscream is, I don't know, just off the hilt. And eventually he'll take Black Arachnia down with him. So they've got two of these tainted Maximals to deal with at some point in this episode. They do find out the organic goop can fix it temporarily. It takes a lot of it in order to fix it permanently. But the main point of this is that Tankor at some point overloads from the power of the key and just falls over dead. And this is presented to Megatron as one of your generals got too ambitious and fell. And remember, the diagnostic drone is reprogrammed by Rhinox at this point, so he's just going with this story. Yes, dog, I know you don't like the diagnostic drone. You can calm down now. Yes, I know. We've been over this. It's a silly plot. You like Rhinox better as a hero. I do too. Just like, cool it. I'm trying to finish. The point being, it's a fake death. Rhinox reclaims the key from what was just a repainted and slightly reprogrammed drone, and now because Megatron thinks that Tankor is dead, he's now free to run his agenda unabated. And we'll see them. I know you don't like this plot. Give me a break. Okay, whatever the dog is barking at, I think the plot here is fine. I think it's a clever move to use the drone to actually trigger this whole story event. Makes sense. And makes sense for... I mean, Rhinox in general is being written as very smart at this point. So... at the beginning of the episode, Rhinox cannot access the Oracle. It refuses because his spark is not receptive. Well, the diagnostic drone doesn't have a spark, so he throws that into the Oracle. Okay, clever workaround. I'll give him credit for that. And then with the end of this, again, it's pretty smart. It's a pretty smart play by him, and it shows just how maniacal this new Rhinox is. So, for a Beast Machines episode, the key is going to get an enjoyable rating. This sets up a lot of really good stuff for this particular three-parter. The key to Vector Sigma is a really good and smart pull for this series, and we see how dangerous it can be to the Maximals. It is a little bit weird that there is some things in the plot that are a little bit odd, but for the most part, it's an okay episode. So... that is it for the episode review for the day. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I will see you tomorrow for the next one.
It's the bosun's turn. He's looking at TJ's character, and he's just like, what you gonna do?
I blew him a kiss.
I love him. I love him.
What the hell's your problem? He's just gonna pull his hand crossbow and just fire at you.
That's fair at this point.